Did
You're
you
watching the
see
exact moment Sophie
that when
Cunningham
DB
shattered
came back
the
and played
decades-old
for us,
playbook that's been
that
quietly running the
they got
WNBA
mad that our
behind
fan base was
scenes?
booing her?
What kicked off as a laid-back podcast moment about
I
Dana
don't believe in
Borner's messy exit
booing
has
former
exploded into
players
something
unless
way
they
bigger
left.
than anyone saw coming.
Unlike some
Now, the old guard media gatekeepers are absolutely losing it. And here's the part they really don't want you to catch. Sophie just proved that players like her, Caitlin Clark, and the Indiana Fever don't need ESPN, The Athletic, or any of the league's long-protected favorites to own their stories. Instead of begging for a seat at the old table, she walked right past the door, went directly to the fans, and pulled in more genuine engagement than most veteran sports reporters can hope for in an entire year. For a system built on being the middleman between athletes and the public, that's not just a shake-up, that's an extinction-level event. So if you're rocking with Sophie, flood the comments with a fire emoji for her. This is a kind of disruption the league's been praying would never happen, and it's here now. Before we even unpack how Sophie Cunningham just cracked the WNBA's media machine wide open, imagine this, a league where players control their own narratives. No bias filters.
I like DB because DB was one of my bets when I was in Phoenix, and then we gathered here into Indiana, and it was kind of a surprise that she was signed to Indiana anyway. And so we'll take her in a heartbeat. She's a Hall of Famer. She's a hell of a basketball player, can score from anywhere on the court.
No anti-clock spin. No petty agendas built to pit teammates against each other. What Sophie just did isn't just about Borna. It's the first shot in a new era, one that could blow up the question of who really runs women's basketball. And here's the part that burns people most. She's not even playing their game. For years, legacy sports media built walls around WNBA coverage, deciding which players got airtime and which stories fit their brand. Sophie just proved those walls aren't brick. They are wet tissue paper. And in one unfiltered podcast episode, she made every major sports outlet panic, scrambling to sign player partnerships before the narrative slips out of their hands for good. The warning signs were in the numbers. Sophie's following has quietly exploded past 1.6 million on TikTok and 1.1 million on Instagram, bigger than the combined reach of some of the league's most plugged-in reporters. She built that audience while ESPN was still acting like Caitlin Clark's record-breaking nights weren't worth a headline. 1 month ago, she had 350K followers. Then the fight happened. In just over a day, she crossed 1 million on both platforms. That's not growth. That's a takeover. And she didn't get there by bowing to the old guard. Sophie speaks the language actual fans understand. Unapologetic, competitive, real. While others hid inside safe, polished PR bubbles, she went straight to the people. No corporate spin. No ESPN-friendly sound bites. Just raw truth. That's the exact moment the power shifted, and the insiders knew it. In the old days, if a player had inside dirt on locker room chaos or a messy exit, it would trickle through a beat reporter, get scrubbed clean, and then be served to fans on the media's terms. Sophie said no. She didn't leak to The Athletic. She didn't feed it to a Twitter burner. She went on her own show, sat next to her co-host, and dropped a truth bomb that flipped the Borna controversy upside down. No editors, no script, just pure player power. Timing controlled, framing controlled, impact controlled. But the truth? Sophie got to Indiana and she just wasn't happy. And honestly, I want people to be happy, so I'm neutral on this one, which shocks a lot of folks. She's toward the end of her career. She deserves her flowers. She deserves peace. But if you're going to leave, you can't be shocked when the boos come. Was there an explanation? Nope, not even privately. And that silence said everything. Sophie didn't let outsiders tell her story. She told it herself better than anyone could, because she lived it. First-hand credibility, inside context, and the platform to drop it without asking for permission. That's a level of freedom the establishment media doesn't want Caitlin Clark, or any Fever player, to have. She proved that truth from the inside hits harder than any polished PR script. And here's the bombshell most people missed. Sophie's podcast isn't just some casual garage recording. It's backed by Colin Cowherd's sports media empire, The Volume. That's the first major crossover between a WNBA player's content and a mainstream sports media powerhouse. They didn't bring her on for charity or support women's sports checkbox. They saw what ESPN didn't. Player-driven storytelling crushes safe, sanitized coverage every single time. That deal sends a loud, dangerous message to the old guard. WNBA stars don't have to stay in the women's sports corner anymore. They can step into the mainstream sports arena, grab a bigger, hungrier audience, and sidestep the gatekeepers entirely. Sophie's success is making other players realize they don't need the middlemen. And the traditional sports media, they are sweating. We're already hearing whispers, major networks scrambling to sign WNBA players for their own shows. Why? Because Sophie proved fans will choose raw, unfiltered player voices over ESPN's corporate-approved narratives every single time. And that terrifies the inner circle. She's breaking the unspoken protect the veterans code. Don't criticize the core. Don't air the politics. Don't give fans a reason to question the sacred cows. Sophie looked at that code and called it what it really is. Broken. Sophie Cunningham didn't just offend Caitlin Clark. She went scorched earth. No sugarcoating, no PR polish, no sponsor-friendly soundbite. She looked the critics dead in the eye and basically said, "You're dumb as hell." And you could feel she meant it. And in a league where most players have been media trained into robots, that was the equivalent of a nuclear detonation. While old-school sports media has been busy wrapping Clark's rise in soft excuses and lukewarm, give-her-time narratives, Sophie aimed her words straight at the fastest-growing fan base in women's basketball, Caitlin's fans, and spoke their language. No middleman, no translator, no journalist to filter it, just a direct hit. And the numbers proved it worked. The traditional sports press hates this because it makes them irrelevant. If players like Sophie and Caitlin can talk directly to millions, rack up engagement, and control their own story, then what exactly are the journalists selling? Their whole business model is built on being the gatekeepers, the ones with exclusive access. Sophie just kicked down the gates and walked right past them. Even she admits that toughen up the rookie routine has gotten old. This isn't just hazing. It's a full-on media obsession that spiraled out of control. And the fact Sophie is calling it out, from inside the league, makes it impossible to dismiss. That's not just authenticity. That's rebellion, and the WNBA hasn't seen enough of it. Sophie's rise isn't just about basketball stats. It's about rewriting the entire rulebook on how WNBA players speak to the world. She's cutting through the corporate PR noise with raw, unfiltered honesty, and fans are eating it up. Those old cookie-cutter answers, dead on arrival. What used to be safe now feels fake, and the audience knows it. The numbers don't lie. Sophie's building more power than any press conference could ever give her. Now other players are asking themselves the question that keeps traditional media up at night. Why let a gatekeeper filter your voice when you can speak directly to millions? Sophie didn't just chip away at the WNBA's media machine. She proved it was fragile all along. The whole system ran on the belief that players needed coverage more than coverage needed them. Sophie shattered that illusion and showed that authenticity trumps scripted messaging every single time. The old guard never understood this. Fans don't tune in for polite, watered-down exchanges. They want rivalries, tension, and emotions you can feel through the screen. For years, the lead pushed a sanitized, everyone respects everyone narrative, hoping to avoid controversy. Sophie proved the exact opposite, that controversy fuels engagement and criticism builds loyalty. She turned conflict into currency, and the return on investment is undeniable. And here's the part the business world needs to catch up on. This will change contracts. Media appearance clauses, social media restrictions, and sponsor obligations are all about to be renegotiated. If Sophie can pull 1.6 million people into her orbit without a PR filter, why would she agree to be muzzled? If the truth gets more clicks than the script, why would she stick to the script? The balance of power just flipped, and there's no going back. Some outlets will adapt, loosening the reins and giving players more space to be themselves. Others will cling to old-school access journalism and lean on team pressure to keep everyone in line. But the real winners? The players who learn Sophie's playbook and run it for themselves. Within 6 months, expect big-name WNBA stars launching their own platforms, cutting out the middleman entirely. Sophie didn't just make history, she started a revolution. They'll pivot entirely, partnering with players instead of trying to control them. And make no mistake, this isn't just a WNBA shift. Sophie's model could work in any professional sport. Direct, unfiltered athlete voices will always beat sterilized corporate content when the storytelling is strong. Fans will trust someone who's been in the locker room over a polished column from someone who wasn't there every single time. The old way treated players as sources and fans as consumers. Sophie's way treats players as creators and fans as part of the conversation, and that's the root of the current media meltdown. The thing that I have the biggest issue with about the female sides of refs is that they are so emotional, just like the guys. The NBA officials, for example, get heckled by players like no other. I've worked in broadcast, I've been to games, I'm friends with these people, and the only person I've ever seen able to really challenge a ref on the women's side is Diana Taurasi. And they take it, they have to, but she's probably one of the worst when it comes to going after refs. What's even scarier for the old media guard is that Sophie's influence isn't tied to her box score. Her platform lives and breathes independent of her on-court stats. She's proven that a player doesn't have to be a league MVP to be a media powerhouse. They just have to be authentic, engaging, and willing to speak directly to their audience. This completely rewrites the media power structure, where previously only the stars had a megaphone. The Borna situation might have lit the match, but Sophie used it to showcase a whole new playbook for athlete-fan communication. Being real, even if it ruffles feathers, generates more loyalty and interest in the most polished press release. She skipped the translators and went straight to the fans who actually care. The outlets that adapt to this will survive by collaborating with athletes. The ones that don't will fade into irrelevance. Now, when it comes to the refs, it doesn't matter the gender. On our side, they are too emotionally invested and can't take the pushback. And honestly, this isn't new to the WNBA. Players talking back to refs has always been a thing. What we're seeing now is the dawn of athlete-owned sports media, and Sophie Cunningham has become the face of the movement, whether she planned to or not. The old guard has a choice: evolve and offer something players actually need, or watch their relevance dissolve as stars like Sophie and Caitlin Clark build their own direct empires. The WNBA media landscape from even half a year ago is already gone. It just hasn't had the funeral yet. Sophie proved that when players have a platform, authenticity will crush corporate messaging every single time. Now, every player knows they don't have to play the access game, which is why the traditionalists are in full-blown panic. Their system relied on fake scarcity and controlled access. Sophie obliterated both. Show your support for Sophie by dropping a Spice of Sophie in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next one.